Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, host and head bookologist here at the Get Literate podcast. I'm a book loving, notebook hoarding reader and writer on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. On this podcast, we explore the power of bookology. What's that? That's the study of books and reading and notebooks and writing mixed with mindful practices and creativity to create lives we love. Here, you'll find episodes exploring the reading and writing life and how they can make our actual lives better. You'll get book recommendations and notebooking prompts around particular themes, and you'll even hear from authors and special guests who can fuel our reading and writing hearts and help us take inspired action in our own daily practices. So, grab a notebook and your TBR list, and let's get literate. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Get Literate podcast. I'm Stephanie, your podcast host and personal bookologist. As always, here to explore how reading and writing can make life better. Before we dive into the episode today, I want to send out a big thank you. I heard from so many of you in response to last week's episode. Those of you like me who may have empty notebooks lying around and just needed an idea or two on how to fill them. As a result of that episode, I know many of you are dusting off some of those notebooks and giving a new idea a try. And I also heard from listeners who gave me some new notebook ideas too. One of my favorites comes from Nancy and Kathleen, who reminded me that I could have a miniature notebook filled with the websites I love, the websites I want to visit and not forget, and of course, my passwords that I always forget as well. I know from Catherine that she has what she jokingly calls, and I love, a butt book. Yes, Butt. A butt book is basically a small notebook that you could, if you wanted to, fit it into your back pocket. So it rests right on your butt and it's there whenever you need it to jot something down. I also heard from some of you that are trying watercolor notebooks to give your budding artistic side a little practice. And I heard from those of you that also like travel notebooks. Notebooks that help document your traveling experience as well as plan for it. There are so many ideas for how we could fill those empty notebooks that are just waiting patiently for us. So I hope if you haven't listened to that episode yet, that you give that a try and you keep all of these notebook ideas coming. I'm tracking them, I'm adding them to my list, and later, who knows, maybe I'll update the episode and I'll have even more ideas to share. Now, today's episode doesn't involve a notebook, it involves a relay. So, it is a reading relay, a book relay that I want to talk to you about today because I think, excuse me, it is perfect for this fall season of reading. A book relay also touches upon the three aspects I believe are critical in developing a literate life. Whether you want to go in deeper in your reading life or your writing life, we need to focus on three things: our habits, our hearts, and our communities. A book relay does all of those things. It gives you the spark to read and keep reading. It gives you the opportunity to read books that you love as well as books that other people love. And it enmeshes you in a really innovative, fun community of readers. So, what is a book relay? Well, to think about what a book relay is, I want you to think about what a regular relay is. Think about your old field days in elementary school. Or maybe you could think of the Olympics as well. I just went straight to the only relays that I could ever accomplish. And I want you to think of four, I believe there's four, maybe there's a couple more, but there are a couple of members on a relay team, and they are scattered around a running track. And when that shot is fired, the first person who's holding a baton runs and runs as fast as he or she can to the next person in line who is holding out her hand, waiting for the baton. They do the passover, the new person has the baton, and that person runs. That person runs to the next person whose hand is waiting for the baton. They do the passover and they run. And it keeps going until you have exhausted all of the members and you have crossed the finish line. A book relay is very similar to an actual racing running relay. But instead of passing the baton, we are passing a book to the next person on our relay team. Now, doesn't that just sound fun, right? Rather than passing batons, we are going to pass books. And doesn't it sound perfect for this time of year when we're getting cozier in our own home? We're thinking about the holidays, about togetherness, about celebrations. A fall reading life is just a special time of year, and a book relay can help us access really great books, but also keep our connections to others high, even though we may be hunkering down in our house a bit. So as I mentioned, a book relay, it checks all the boxes for how to develop a strong reading life. By being part of a book relay team, you are ensuring that you are reading and you are reading more and you're reading when you want to read because you don't want to disappoint your book relay team. And so this is a great way to give yourself some accountability to boost your reading habits. Now, in terms of your reading heart, a book relay gives you the opportunity to read multiple books over time that you love, or maybe you wouldn't have known that you've loved unless your book relay team put them in front of you. So, a book relay gives you an opportunity to read books that are both in and outside of your bookish comfort zone. And then finally, community. A book relay is a book team. You are not just passing the book and running away. You are passing the book that is now covered with tracks of your thinking. And we'll talk about that. So, as you pass the book to the next reader, that reader is not just getting a blank book, they're getting you and your thoughts and your reactions to that book. And then they're layering theirs on top of it before sending it off to the next reader. So, there is so much community and connection and social interaction packed into the book that passes through the read-alay. Through the the read-alay. Ooh, maybe I've just come up with a new term. The read-alay or the book relay. So it is a win-win. You read more, you get access to new books, and you connect with a reading community in a way that is likely pretty new if you try the book relay. So I'm hoping that you're intrigued. I'm hoping already you're thinking, who would be part of my book relay team? What book could I add to a book relay team? But you might also be thinking, I'm still not quite sure how this whole book relay thing works. And so I want to dive into the how. How does it work? And what are the two different options we have based on how many friends I have in my book relay team and how much I want to read? Okay, so how does the book relay work? Well, first, you need to find a group of readers who want to join the book relay. Now, it's up to you how many. The fewer you have, the faster you will get through your collection, excuse me, of books. The more people you have, the longer the book relay will take, but the more books you will read. So you want to think about how many people you want on your relay team. And I would say a team of 4 to 5 is probably a good sweet spot because it's enough people to really make it a big enough thing to get really excited about. But it's not too big where your relay will be able to be over, let's say, by the time the fall winter season is finished. So think about your book besties. Think about people that are not your book besties, but you might want to invite into your reading world and reach out to them, right? If you're listening to this, you could be the leader of a book relay. So think about the people you want on your relay team. And let's just say that you're choosing 4, just to make the math easier in my head. You have 4 readers. Here's what you do. You get that group of readers together, whether it's on a group text, if it's on a group email, if you hop into Voxer, you make a group in Facebook Messenger, you hop on a live Zoom call to talk it through, whatever you choose. You get that team together and you explain what a book relay is, just like I have explained to you and I'm continuing to explain to you. And you give them a task. You say, okay, the four of us are going to be a book team. It is our job for each of us to choose a book we love or a book we want to read, right? So ideally, all of the books that are in the book relay are new books to all of the members. Unless you really want to have a rereading book relay team, you can. But I do suggest that all of the books that are chosen are new. And so each member could come with a book that they love, that they want to read, right? They think they're going to love it. Or they could come to a book that they have seen recently. They don't know if they're going to like it, but they're intrigued. It's new on the bestseller list. You get to choose. But the idea is that each member chooses their own book for their own reasons. Okay. And so once everyone has their own book and their title in mind, you work on the logistics. So the great thing about a book relay like this is that everyone is always passing the baton. Everyone is always passing the book. You're not just waiting there with your hand stretched out, like, is it my turn to read? Is it my turn? No. Everybody starts and everybody just, this is where the racing metaphor falls apart, but member number one will pass their book to member number two. Member number two passes their book to member number three. Member number three passes it to book member number four, and so on. So everyone will always have a baton or a book at the same time. You decide then, how long do we want to give ourselves to read it? Do you read quickly as a group and you want to do a 2-week window? Do you want to give each reader a 1-month window? This is again where your decisions are completely unique to the group. How quickly do you want to get through the book relay? How long do you want it to last through the season? How many members do we have? Play it by ear and just have a conversation with the group and pick something that's right for you. So you've got your members. Everyone has the book that they want to read first. That person who chose that book, you read that book, your own book first. And here's where it gets fun. As you read, you leave tracks of your thinking in the book. Write in the book, put sticky notes in the book, highlight things, tuck in pieces of paper with your thoughts, open up the back cover and jot something down. The idea is that you're not just passing a book to someone, you're passing a reading experience. So now, once everyone is done, you've read the book and we leave our tracks of thinking in it, you pop it in an envelope and you put it in the mail, if you are not local, to the next reader. Now, even if you are local, I do recommend doing this completely by snail mail because there is just something so amazing about getting a book in the mail. So at your first meeting or in your email chain or your text group, you want to make sure that you exchange addresses so that when the first book time has come, we've read it, we've marked our thinking, we pop it in the mail, we send it to the next reader. And then the clock starts again. Now we have 2 weeks or a month to read the new book that's in front of us. Now, when we read it, we know what our book friend was thinking. We can have conversations with that book friend in our mind. We can add our own tracks of thinking. So when we're done with that book and it moves on, that next reader gets 3 different readers to interact with while never leaving their home in the comfy, cozy season of fall. And then it repeats until all of the members have read all of the books. Now, some of the books, when you get them, there won't be as much thinking in the book because you are one of the first or second readers. But as it goes, you will all get a chance to get a book that is completely marked up and filled with your book besties' thoughts that you can consider. I mean, doesn't that just sound so fun? This is the season of connecting and coming together and celebrating, and a book relay really helps us do just that. Now, when you're finished, you have cycled through all of the books, you've got some options. Option number one is you can do nothing, right? You don't have to do anything. You can just hop back into the email chain or the text chain and say, hey, that was fun. Do we want to do that for another season? Or you can schedule a time to meet either in person or virtually, perhaps on Zoom, and talk about all of the books. Come together live to talk about the experience of the book relay, to share your favorites, to really dive into the threads and the tracks of thinking that were left on the page. And the neat thing is, if you do the book relay to the end, the book that you are left with was the original book that you started with, the book that you loved or the book that you wanted to read for some reason. But now it has tracks of all of your friends' thinking, evidence of how that book impacted someone else. And now it's back in your hands and can sit on your shelf as a lovely, lovely reminder of this experience. I mean, I know you're probably thinking, okay, let's do it. I'm hooked. I want a book relay. Now, I did mention there was one other option. What I just discussed was your typical book relay where everyone has a book and everyone passes it at the same time. However, if you do want to start smaller, it is perfectly acceptable, and I have done this in the past, where you start with just one book that, let's say, all four of your friends want to read. And so you go first. You bought the book, you read it, you put your tracks of thinking in it, and you send it to friend number two. Friend number two reads that book, leaves her tracks of thinking, and sends it to friend number three. So the book rotates among the book club, more in line with what a true relay race is, where you pass the baton. So everyone isn't always reading together, but you are cultivating a shared experience around a single book. So essentially, when that book has passed through all of the members, you still could get together and have a little book club conversation because you have all read that book. So one over the other might appeal to you. Or maybe you just want to start with one book and pass it among a group of friends and see how that goes. Or maybe you want to dive into the entire book relay experience and you want to be reading and reading and reading and passing the baton and also getting a baton, getting a book back at the same time. Now, I am currently launching a book relay right now. Over the summer, you might know if you've listened to previous episodes, I had the really wonderful opportunity to every other week go to my local retreat house in Lake George, New York, the Weowaka House, and meet with groups of women who just wanted to come together as readers and talk about books around a particular theme. It was one of the highlights of my summer. I met so many wonderful readers. I even met writers. We just had a really great time, and I didn't want it to stop. And so we decided that that group is going to do a book relay together for the fall season to keep those reading connections going. Now, since I am in charge, so to speak, of the book relay, which simply means I am setting it up and going first, I am doing this with just a one book relay for now. So we are going to choose one book that is going to pass among the members, just like I just said is an option for you if you want to start small. And so what I did is I simply went to Goodreads, I went to Google, and I said, books that are releasing in September. Right? I wanted this book that I'm going to pass along to be brand new to everyone in the group. And I put those 5 choices of books into a Google form. The members voted on which one they wanted to read the most, and our book relay will begin. So I just want to share what those 5 titles were in case you're wondering what new books you might put in your book relay as well. The first one I shared is The Life Impossible by Matt Haig, right? I haven't met a book by Matt Haig that I haven't enjoyed. And so this is a historical fiction slash fantasy book that the publisher says in a blurb, what looks like magic is simply a part of life we don't understand yet. And it's about a retired math teacher, Grace, who is left a rundown house in a Mediterranean island by a friend, and she decides to go with a one-way ticket and no guidebook and no plan. So that's The Life Impossible by Matt Haig. Now, the second book I put was an Elizabeth Strout book. I love Elizabeth Strout. I love Olive. And this one is called Tell Me Everything. It's a hopeful, healing novel about new friendships, old loves, and the very human desire to leave a mark on the world. Now, keep in mind, I haven't read any of these either. I want this to be a brand new reading experience for all of us. So I just picked things based on a wide variety of reading interests, and we'll see what the group chooses. Up next is Blue Sisters by Coco Mellers. Three estranged siblings return to their family home in New York after their beloved sister's death in this unforgettable story of grief, identity, and the complexities of family. Now, this may or may not be a book that you want to bring into a fall holiday season. But again, I just wanted a wide range for the wide range of readers that I knew we had. Next up, A Home for the Holidays by Taylor Hahn. This is a warm, witty novel about coming to terms with grief, taking a chance on unexpected connections, and finding family in time for the holidays. Now, if you are a holiday book lover, if you love the Lifetime and the Hallmark Movie Channel as much as I do, maybe your fall book relay is just a cozy Hallmark movie inspired holiday story, right? You can have book relays across all different books, like I'm offering to my group. You could have a book relay that is only holiday stories, a book relay that is only memoirs, a book relays that are different personal development books to end the last 90 days of the year going strong. So many possibilities for what your group wants your relay to look like. And then finally, another one on the list is called Songs for the Brokenhearted by Alet Sabari, if I am saying that correctly. In this book, a young Yemeni Israeli, excuse me, I'm tripping over my words today, woman learns of her mother's secret romance and a dramatic journey through lost family stories, revealing the unbreakable bond between a mother and a daughter. And it is a debut novel. So again, you get to pick. Do you have a theme? Do you not have a theme? Do you go with books that each person just desperately wants to read? Do you go with a favorite book? Right? So if you have read The Book That Matters Most by Anne Hood, you know that in that book there is a book club, a long-standing book club. And in this book, each of the 12 members picks one of their absolute favorite changed my life books to read with the group. Your book relay could be like that too. I'm hoping that you're seeing there are so many possibilities for what this book relay might look like. The only thing you need to do is to gather together a group of friends, have each friend choose a book, get your addresses and the logistics for how long you'll have to read, pledge to stick to those logistics so you're not the domino that takes down the book relay, and then swap books again and again and again, depending on how many readers you have, and then come together in celebration. Now, this is the beginning of September. If you moved quickly and you got a group together, you could read together throughout the fall season, September, October, November, and December. And you could come together before the new year to celebrate the books you've read. That would be even more fun to do if you did a holiday themed book relay or a personal development theme book relay, and you could come together to really celebrate as a fun, bookish community. Okay. I hope that you will give this book relay idea a try. It is good for any time of year, but I think it is especially perfect for this time of year. Boost your reading habits, boost your reading hearts, and certainly boost your reading community. So, of course, I want to know what you think. Will you give this book relay a try? Have you given a book relay a try before? Let me know. Go to the episode notes at alitlife.com and leave me a comment. You can find me at social media at AfinitoLit and let me know there, either commenting on the post for this episode or in my direct messages. Or, my favorite, you can head to the audio button in your podcast platform and you can leave me an audio message. If you still want more details, if you want to know how this is going to work, you can hop into my Get Literate Patreon community because we'll talk about this a little bit more. And who knows, perhaps start our own book relay for the fall season. Members, get ready because that's exactly what I would like to do. I'm also happy to share templates, different email swipe copy that you can paste into an email or put into a text as you get ready for a relay. And if you'd like me to join your relay, my hand is already in the air because I love being a participant in these book relays. So that's it for me today. Go off, find your book group, get ready for your book relay, and be sure to let me know what your plans are. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Get Literate podcast, everyone, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Get Literate podcast. You'll find links to all the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. And if you want more, you might like to join my Patreon community. There, you'll find additional inspiration for your reading and writing life, like bonus podcast episodes, book calendars, monthly book clubs, notebooking inspiration, live events, giveaways, and more. It's only $5 a month, and you get instant access to all of the previous content too. Learn more at getliterate.co. And one more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and it builds our bookish and notebookish community too. Thanks for listening.